Hi friends, it's your pal John over here over at John Likes Music, and I've decided to do something a little bit different today. I keep doing different things, but that's whatever. There's nothing coming out that I was really interested in reviewing, and I also feel like I've been reviewing really negatively lately, and I don't like that. I just have been listening to music that's been disappointing to me, which kind of blows. So, for whatever reason, I decided that I wanted to chronicle my favorite albums of all time as of right now in kind of this 5 part video. Now, this is not a best albums of all time list. I can't make those claims. These are just albums that I love a lot, that are really important to me and how I grew up, and that have influenced me as an artist. So I'm going to start from the bottom and go all the way to the top, as one does when doing a list. I'm going to talk about each record, why it's here, why I love it so much, and what tracks I find to be the best and or most interesting. Let's get going with number 50. To kick us off, we've got Jeff Rosenstock's sophomore record, Worry. I distinctly remember when listening to this album being like, pop punk is not dead, not if Jeff Rosenstock has anything to say about it. And its opening track, We Begged to Explode, is the perfect little taste of what the rest of the record is going to be like. Thoughtful lyrics about love and its relationship to reality, and this final massive build to this mother of all pop punk shout sung choruses. It's a really thoughtful, rapid fire pop punk album that I loved a lot. His previous record, We Cool, was an awesome start to Jeff's solo career, but I find Worry to be a little bit more varied and a little bit more interesting in its lyrics, and that's something that I look for personally. It's just a really great record. Please listen to it. Heralded as one of the distinct starts to the experimental rap genre, The Money Store was my introduction to the genre as well. Basically, a cultural milestone for rap and for hip hop. Death Grips shocked those who listened to them originally. It also started an avid but toxic fan base. If you're a part of the music community at all, you've seen Death Grips fans on the internet. Those kind of guys that comment under music videos or comment on under other artists just saying, oh, it's not Death Grips, bro, get got, whoa. They're similar to Rick and Morty fans in the way that what the fans are doing and the way that they're portraying themselves is exactly the opposite of what the creators of both Rick and Morty and Death Grips want them to, and what they talk about in their music. Death Grips talks about the internet age and the dark side of the internet. I've Seen Footage talks about this in the most detail, talking about seeing footage online of terrible things that nobody should ever see, but it's literally just a Google search away. And of course, there's a legendary classic. It's a classic. And it's remarkable how future-proof this album is. It came out 6 years ago, and it's still cutting edge. It still sounds crazy and wild and different, even as other people have taken from this sound already. The hooks are still grinding and wild, and they're just as earwormy as they've ever been. The Money Store is a classic, man. Lot of Sea Lights is a folk blues collaboration between Pittsburgh's Kurt Vile and Australia's Courtney Barnett. I love both of these artists separately, and having them come together, there's a little kind of a magic there that you only find with working with another person, and I think Courtney and Kurt really capture that. A Lot of Sea Lights is just so pleasant. If you're looking for a laid-back album for the 2018 summer to just sit back, have a drink, smoke a smoke too by the pool, this is probably for you. The album starts out so incredibly strong with Over Everything, which is the 6.5 minute cut of Kurt and Courtney swapping verses and just talking about their life and how music and sounds hang over everything. It sounds like you're waking up in a movie and the music cue tells you that today is going to be a good day. And I frequently use this song as the first song that I listen to in the day because it really makes my day better. It's just long enough that I can get to my destination, my classes, without having to worry about it being over, but also it really makes my day better when I start out my day listening to this particular song. But my favorite track on here is Out of the Woodwork, which features this really sauntery, bluesy, "She's so easy." If you're looking for a folk record with a lot to say, this isn't that, but it's also not supposed to be that. It's designed to be laid back. It's designed to be easy. But if you look in the lyrics for something worthwhile, there's stuff still there. Yeah, this is a wild one, right? If you don't know, I am both a longtime actor and an even longer time Christian. It's one of the only musical soundtracks I can listen to on its own, and by only, I mean I can count them all on one hand. As an artist and as a self-proclaimed music reviewer, over the years, I've taken a lot of issue with the Christian music industry. It's repetitive, linear, dull, copy-paste, and it's always behind the current musical times, snagging from other genres what's already happened to make these gimmicky recreations of secular songs that never need to be made in the first place. But to me, this recreation of the classic musical is everything that Christian and worship music should be. It's varied and it's interesting. And even if it wasn't a musical first, if it was just a concept record, I think it'd be just as good. Pretty much every song on this soundtrack approaches worship differently. From forlorn songs of doubt and misunderstanding to songs that are entirely metaphors, all done within different styles and faithfully, I might add. It creates a gorgeous onstage and in-ear presence and visuals that make worshiping Jesus creative and fun. This is the album that I listen to when I want to take a moment alone with God. It's my standard for what Christian music could be, but refuses to be most of the time. It's also very near and dear to my heart, for once upon a time I played Judas Iscariot in a production of Godspell alongside some of my closest friends, and it really shaped me as an artist, actor, and as a human being. If you know me at all, or you grew up with me, or whatever, you know that I love Blink-182. I don't love everything they do, and if I'm being really honest, I only like, a handful of their overall records, but California is one of them. And I know this is not a popular opinion, but personally, I feel like Matt Skiba fits in so well to Blink-182's overall sound. I actually think he's a better fit for the group than Tom DeLonge ever was. Him and Mark's voices they collide and sound better together than Mark and Tom's did. I could get crucified for saying that, but it's true. I just think they blend better, and I think what he adds to the overall picture is more interesting than what Tom did. Tom was just kind of nuts. And much like the other Blink-182 record I have on this list, California came to me in a time when I really needed it. I was doing mission work in Duluth, Minnesota, and I wasn't having a great time. And it was halfway through the summer, and I was really struggling to keep with it and to keep going with it. But it gave me something to look forward to. The release of the album came right when I needed the pick-me-up most. And it landed, and I loved it. And I really needed it to not be terrible. And truthfully, in order for me to, I feel like, survive the rest of the summer, I really owe a lot to this album for helping me get through that time. In my opinion, the songs are varied and they're interesting. And they can be just as good as they can be absolutely stupid. Travis's drumming doesn't disappoint, and Mark Hoppus is still the king of catchy pop-punk bass lines. I owe these guys a lot. I really do. The Red Dead Redemption soundtrack is gorgeous, ambient, and it's a sparse masterpiece. I almost put The Last of Us' soundtrack here, but just to me, overall, the Red Dead Redemption soundtrack is an achievement in sound design as a whole. Every note, scratch, creak, gunshot, drone is meticulously thought out and placed, and it creates one of the thickest, most interesting atmospheres in all of video games. And that time when you ride into Mexico to Jose Gonzalez's Far Away, ugh, it's a moment with art that I don't think I'll ever forget. And as I was writing this, I like rekindled my thought process on it by listening to Far Away again, and immediately I just had flashbacks and I got goosebumps and oof, oh, it's so good. This soundtrack is an absolute masterpiece. And also, if you haven't played Red Dead Redemption, what are you doing here? Go buy it right now. It's backwards compatible on Xbox One. Just go get it. It's so good. I adore Baby Metal. And their sophomore effort, Metal Resistance, helped them claim their spot as not being a novelty act anymore. Because their first record was underwhelming, it was full of gimmicks, and they didn't really have any substantial songs, save for, the classic Gimme Chocolate. Baby Metal was completely and wholly crafted as a corporate scheme and a corporate experiment, but it paid off, and it did something different that I feel like most of us were expecting it we're expecting this project to do. Because not only does Metal Resistance totally rule, but it turned these three young J-pop stars into metal icons, and also they fell in love with metal. They'd never been introduced to it before, and once working on Baby Metal, they fell in love with metal and are wholeheartedly working themselves, not just, their writers and their producers, whatever. They themselves are working to make Baby Metal a J-pop metal fusion that works and that stays around. They have this crazy fox god backstory where they are the heralds and prophets of metal, is prescribed by the gods and opera. It's ridiculous. It's awesome. And Metal Resistance as an album makes very few missteps. The opening track, Road to Resistance, is this blood-pumping, catchy speed metal. And the track that follows, Karate, has one of my all-time favorite metal riffs. It's just so dirty and filthy and ooh, it's so good. The album's not too long and explores a lot of different sounds that don't bend too far out of what Baby Metal's core strengths are. And I think it's well worth your time. Dear Lord, thank you for giving us Kendrick Lamar. He's such a good boy. Damn is my least favorite record of K-Dot's 3 colossal mainstream mega hits. That does not mean that I dislike it, nor does it mean I think Damn is a bad album, because it's far, far from being a bad album. I just think he set the bar so overwhelmingly high for himself that it's nearly impossible to surpass what he's already done. But Damn is really damn good. But honestly, you probably already knew that. It's such a huge record with some of the biggest songs in hip-hop's this decade. Humble right now is sitting at over 765 million listens on Spotify alone. Also, the music video for that is fantastic. And also, so is DNA, Element, Loyalty, 30. It's so good. I very, very recently went through my Bob Dylan phase, as many young artists who write like me do. I think he's a poet who's had nearly as many misses as he's had hits, and nevertheless, I still think he absolutely deserved the Nobel Prize in Literature that he received. And Highway 61 Revisited is the culmination of everything I love about Bob Dylan. Massive, song-long metaphors, his scratchy speak-singing, and thoughtful, smart, innovative yet traditional folk music. It has some of the most influential songs ever written, and it has some of folk's best songwriting. Once is the only other musical on this list, and it's mostly because Once doesn't sound like a musical. For the most part, Once is not an integrated musical, meaning that the songs don't directly drive the plot forward and may relate thematically to what's happening, but the songs don't immediately drive the action forward. Each song that is played is written by the characters, and those songs exist in that world. They're artists, they're creators. It's like what I would do with my own music, recording and sharing said music with my friends, and seeing how that pans out, and how all of that captures the feelings and the moments in day to day life. And it captures the Irish folk that it's rooted in so well, and it's so beautiful and varied. The tracks range from the slowest ballads to some crazy, passionate folk ragers like When Your Mind's Made Up. And the performances here are incredible. Steve Kazee is an unbelievable guy. And the woman who plays Girl, I can't remember her name, but she's kind of got like a Bjork-like quality to her, which is really cool to see in a musical of this size. It's a show that I want to be in more than anything in the world. I saw it in Chicago as a birthday gift from my parents to me, and when I saw it, it absolutely changed my life. It gave me hope for the future of musicals rooted in new ideas and new ways of thinking. And it was so directly relatable to me and the music that I liked and the music that I now write. It's had a huge impact on the type of musician that I am and that I want to be. Listening to and watching this special really cemented Nirvana as an artist that I wanted to pull from. Because Nirvana is generally loud and abrasive and usually isn't the type of style that I like to work with. But they have these really smart social, political, and apathetic lyrics underneath. And this wasn't Nirvana's last show before Kurt died. In fact, they even went on a tour for In Utero really soon after this. But the show felt like it had a sense of finality to it. The stage was littered with flowers and candles, and the lighting was really heavy with blues and purples, and frankly, it just kind of felt like this beautiful funeral. It kind of felt like, to me at least, that everything Nirvana had done was leading up to this moment. It was vulnerable and stripped back, and nothing there but their angst and their pure imagination as artists. It's this little live album that I really like a lot. So those are my picks so far for 50 through 40. Let me know what you think. Give me some comments. Let me know your feedback. Tune in next week. I'll hopefully be doing another one of those then. Who knows? These take a long time to make, but peace out, my boys.